So you want to be able to affect people with your words and get any result by using your mouthpiece. And using your mouthpiece and having a mouthpiece can be beneficial across any platform, across any interaction, across any country. When you are able to effectively communicate and be direct and back it up with your skills and experience, you can get whatever you want. But the reason why many of us don't have that skill set yet, and the reason why you don't, and why you're watching this video right now, is because you are not putting yourself out there. And because you don't put yourself out there, you don't have the experience and the skill set to reach that goal. Where a lot of us get stuck is in that limbo area where we are stuck between wanting to do it but being afraid to do it and put ourselves out there. A lot of people are in that area, and a lot of us stay in that area as long as we are comfortable. When you finally put yourself out there and finally start practicing talking to others, that is when you will start to develop your communication skills, your ability to affect people with your words, your ability to get your desired result. But you have to escape that area where you are at now, that area where you are comfortable, and you have to be able to fail over and over and over again in these interactions to develop that skill. And I mentioned before, people don't do it and they don't succeed because they don't practice. The more you practice and the more you do something and the more you fail, you will begin to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So when you go to approach that woman and you start talking about things that don't actually matter or aren't direct or get to what you want, you will start to see during those interactions that talking about the Hellcat, the money, the cars, the status only works for a certain group of people, a certain group of women. And then with other women, those things don't matter, but you don't know that yet because you haven't had the experience to identify who is who. Not only does having a mouthpiece and putting yourself out there allow you to identify people better, but it also allows you to communicate to each individual party better. You don't go into the room of politicians and start talking about selling drugs. You don't go into the trap and start talking about what was on the news about Gaza, or you don't start talking about that experience that you had where you went into this job opportunity and you know what I mean? You have to be relevant in your communication. You have to be able to know who is who and communicate why and how that adds value to the situation. So when you wanted to get that job and you sat down in the booth at Wendy's for that interview and you had no skill set, you had no experience, you had no relevant things to add value, you were nervous. They had to ask you questions because they knew you didn't have experience. They asked you questions like, are you on time? What is time management? You know, what would you do in this situation? They had to ask you questions that didn't involve your experience and your skill set, because not only does that job not involve as many skills as another job, right, as being the president of the United States, but they know in that role that you don't have the experience and the skills yet. But they're taking anybody, right? Anybody who can count, anybody who can add, anybody who can listen and take an order, right? But as you begin to develop and as you begin to have these different experiences, You graduate from high school, you go to college, you join clubs, you take on professional certificates, you do internships. Not only are you gaining more knowledge, experience, and not only are you gaining more skills, now you have more to talk about, you have more to offer, and you have a bigger pool of opportunity for jobs, right? So now when you go in the room, you can relate that skill set, you can relate that experience to the role and how you can add value in it. Now follow me. Take this same example and apply it to any relationship. Any example where you want to communicate with someone and get your desired result. Where you're walking up and getting your order taken, what do you have to do? You have to communicate to them what you want. You want that double cheeseburger. So you communicate that, and you communicate that clearly. When you walk up to this person who you want to talk to, this woman, right? And you know your desired result is to get the number, you have to be direct to get that need met, and you have to use your prior experience based off of the skills, based off of the practice, based off of the failures that you put in by approaching 1,000 women, right? You know about that by approaching 1,000 women, that this specific woman won't relate to this specific thing. You know the skill set that you have for having the most motion won't relate to the librarian, right? So you're not going to talk about motion to the librarian. You're going to talk about that book that you read, right? Because based off the relevant experience that you've had by approaching women in the library before, you found out that the women in the library, they don't care about motion. They like books, and they like an educated man, and you're not trying to fit yourself in their box. But if you want to relate and you want to get your desired result, you are going to have to use your experiences and those failures and that practice that you had and that skill set to affect this relationship and get your need met. Relationship and communication is all about getting your needs met, communicating to that person your opinion or what you want from them, right? You want that number, so how you get that number is by not only being direct, knowing what you want, but also being able to relate your past experience, being able to relate your skill sets, and being able to connect with that person based on who they are. When you go to your new job opportunity, you're not going to talk about Wendy's because that's not relevant. They don't care about Wendy's anymore. They care about that internship that you had that relates directly to the role and that will help them make more money. The librarian doesn't care about the Hellcat. She wants to be able to talk with someone about books, right? She wants to talk with someone about how this book related to her life and how this changed her situation. You don't have to squeeze yourself down, but you have to know what their need is. And then once you are in that opportunity, once you secure that job, secure that number, are able to get the desired result, then you can start to expand yourself, open them up to new opportunities, right? Open them up to how much more you can add to their life, some experience that they never had. Now you can take the librarian, you could take her in a Hellcat, right? And you could show her the nice car, and you could show her this life that you live, right? And when you get in that job, because you were great at sales, now you can start to add your marketing skills in. You can show them how you can make them more money, and then you can get a raise from them based off of the skill sets that you have. But you have to get in there with your mouthpiece, and the way that you know how to get in there with your mouthpiece is by having that relevant skill set, that relevant experience, and jumping out there before you're ready and failing. So fail now. Go to that job opportunity and stutter 100 times and do it again. Build up that experience. Go approach that girl, stutter, say some dumb shit, and do it over again. And over time, you will start to see the areas which you can improve in, the areas that work, the things that don't work, and how you can begin to take steps for yourself to improve and reach that desired result.
Wizard.